All right, good morning, everybody. You guys hear me okay? Get started here. Got actually some pretty big updates here today, quite frankly. On gold, particularly, I want to give you guys an update. Then we have a couple of trades that I would like to share with you here in just a minute. We're just going to give everyone another minute or so, and then we'll get started here in just a second. Thank you all for being here. Much appreciate it. Okay. All right. Let's get started. Again, good morning, everybody. Serge Berger here from thesteadytrader.com. If you're here for the first time, welcome. What we are going to be doing here for the next 10 to 15 minutes is going through some of the top few things on my notepad. If you haven't already done so, please make sure you subscribe to our channel. That really helps us out to be able to continue to do this morning show. And please also, as always, give us a thumbs up like every single time you watch a video. That allows us to be able to get the algos to pick up what we're doing here. So what are we going to talk about this morning? Quite a bit. We're going to start with equities quickly. We had a bit of a non-event session yesterday, but I do want to talk about JP Morgan to start off with. And then I want to give you two specific trades that we're looking at. Actually, I'm going to give you one. Because I want to talk about the other one with our members afterwards in the member session. But I do want to start off this morning here also talking about gold and the dollar. So let me give you a bit of an update of what we are... what the hell is all this? Oh, okay. All right. What we are looking at here is, again, our... sort of multi-asset chart, and I just want to show you guys where JP Morgan is currently trading. And JP Morgan is my alma mater, so I'm always going to be a bit biased, but it's probably the most important stock there is for U.S. equities. And you'll notice that over the past 3 years, shares of JP Morgan are actually up almost as much as semiconductor stocks are. Over that same period of time, in comparison, the NASDAQ 100 QQQ is up about 95% over the past 3 years. The sort of trouble with JP Morgan right now, and it has a very highly positive correlation to the S&P 500. If I were to show you this here, this is your multi-year sort of correlation of the S&P 500 versus JP Morgan. It's not about the absolute level. It's about the correlation, the fact that they're basically moving in tandem, right? So the fact that one line's above the other one is meaningless. It's just the fact that they're moving up and down together. So if you're looking for a clue to what might the S&P do, JP Morgan is a very, very important stock to watch, right? So I'll just leave it at that. It's a almost $900 billion market cap, I believe, at this point. Obviously, lots of business, lots of insight, lots of data. I can tell you that, having worked there before, is a tremendous insight into the world, quite frankly. And so if and when JP Morgan were to take a pause, I would be more concerned about the equity market. Now, what is a bit concerning with JP Morgan right now, just to give you guys an idea on this, is technically this is where JP Morgan is currently trading. So this is your upward sloping channel since 2022, and JP Morgan is once again at the very, very upper end of that channel, which, if we believe that JP Morgan has a close correlation to the S&P, which it factually does. Remember this chart here, it's the same chart, S&P and JP Morgan. They hardly ever diverge for very long. We'll have to say that, yes, we can get an overshooting move like we did in January, February, but I just don't think it's going to last, which is another way of saying it. I don't think the S&P has here what it takes to continue blowing higher without pulling back for an extended period of time. We might just be in fact, one of the smarter people I know had an early morning call with him, and he is also kind of in the camp that stocks might kind of chop sideways. And of course, I have a 5 to 10 year view on that for the S&P, but he's also thinking over the next sort of 6 months. So we'll see. I'm open-minded. Again, it's the year of the trader. So I just quickly thought I would point this out here on JP Morgan. Is that helpful on JP Morgan? Thumbs up, like if that is helpful. The second thing I want to talk about is the dollar and how it relates to gold, because I'm actually very close to potentially reduce my long gold position in half, which I have not. Obviously, I haven't done it, obviously, which is why. But I wanted to publicly talk about it here. Just making a quick note here, because it is really, really important. So over the past few days, past week and a half or something like that, I've talked about the dollar. Me having taken basically a bullish trade on the dollar. So basically, what I'm actually short euro versus dollar futures, which is the same thing for the most part as being long the dollar index. So this is the dollar index. So far, the dollar is moving to the upside. So far, so good. I sort of had a line in the sand, sort of just north of 96. And so far, that's working. Now, I don't know how far the dollar goes here. I really don't. What I can tell you is that if the dollar does start to rally more meaningfully here, right, my bullish view on the dollar is on gold is going to be tested. Now, just to give you a bit of an idea on gold, which XAU here is the following. So gold has been unable to move since April, which is more or less like Bitcoin's the same problem. It's just going sideways, which to me is a bit concerning given all the news that we've had on higher deficit spending and so on and so forth. So I'm a bit concerned that gold might be in some sort of a topping phase here for the time being. If you want to be, there's a fun way of kind of annotating this move here. It looks a bit like a banana. And it's kind of not too dissimilar from just a sharp, kind of rise. So this is kind of it, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if we end up ultimately having a similar move in gold as we had previously from 2018 into 20 and then consolidating. So if I were to do the same kind of analysis here on gold, and I'm just drawing lines here. I know it's a bit of a doodling exercise, but I wouldn't be surprised if the dollar starts to rally, that we are going to start to have a situation that looks not too dissimilar in gold. And by the way, this goes against the bull case for gold, right? Where we might move into a multi-year or at least multi-quarter sort of sideways move in gold. But again, it would have to be with the dollar getting a real bid. And it's early days so far in that trade, but I'm telling you, if that happens, the dynamics in the market might change, right? So I don't know if anyone cares about this or if this is valuable, but to me, this is one of the biggest thoughts in my mind over the past week. Again, I've been very vocal about it here and certainly to our clients that, if the dollar were to rally meaningfully, and, what does that mean? Maybe it goes to the dollar index, goes to 100, we'll go back to the dollar index. I would see it likelier than not that gold will top for a while, right? It may ultimately go back higher again, but at least for the time being. So I'm thinking multi-quarter, which would be long enough for me to actually at least reduce in half or even more my my gold position. And I've been long gold since basically, I think, September of 2023. And of course, on the Market Rover, which is our trend following tool, gold, the GLD ETF remains very bullish from a trending perspective. So it hasn't broken any trends yet. The green background is there. So if all one did is buy gold when it turned into a green background color and still held it, it'd be up 65%, beating most things, right? Particularly given the low volatility. So, but this might get tested here, and I'm actually considering closing at least a third, if not half of my gold position, if not today, in the coming days. So I can always add it back on, right? So, and I've had this on, since June September, October 2023. So that's an update there. Now, for those of you guys who don't care about any of this stuff, let's talk about stocks. What I also did yesterday, and I mentioned this over in Trade Ops in real time, so I give it to you here the next day because members get this in real time. is I actually did close my Apple long position, which we had on as a momentum trade. So we use something called the TST trender, which is our momentum indicator, which gave us a beautiful momentum buy signal last week, Monday. And I just don't like the way Apple acted yesterday. It reached our profit target. So what our momentum indicator does is it gives us an entry signal, right there, and then it automatically gives us both a profit target, which is those 3 dots, and a trailing stop. And the reason I closed the position yesterday is because, number one, it reached our profit target, so you can see how the wick touched, those 3 lines. So it reached our profit target. But also, I don't like the way the stock reacted yesterday. In fact, at intraday, we had sell signals yesterday. So this is the intraday price action. Here, let me zoom it in properly. You can see we had a buy signal at the opener, but that very quickly turned into a sell signal for the rest of the day, right? So I am no longer in Apple as a swing trade. I've closed it out. Listen, if it gets back, it's act back together, I'll be more than happy to get long Apple again. But I wanted to, because a lot of people have asked us about this. If you want more analysis on that, which I would hope some of you would want to, go in here on YouTube, go into where it says shorts over on the Steady Trader. I make now probably at least one YouTube short every day. And I just updated it this morning for everyone to see why we closed it as well. There's, if you want to watch that 2-minute video in a more entertaining fashion, you can go ahead and do that too. So I did that this morning for you guys as well. Which leads me to a chart that I posted this morning as well over on YouTube in posts. And that chart is on silver junior miners. Now, this is where things get a little bit more sort of, I don't know if complex is the terminology, but given what I said about gold just now, that it might be getting tired, it is very curious to me to see a very, very bullish behavior in junior silver mining stocks. I mean, that is about as speculative as you can get within the metal space, right? But it is exhibiting in a very, very bullish pattern. Our momentum indicator has the trender indicator, which again, I hope all you guys are using, has still a valid buy signal. You can see we got that buy signal, and now it's actually setting up for potentially another move higher. So if you are a TradeOps member, we'll talk about that. I already posted the updated chart in TradeOps this morning, so hopefully you guys are able to watch that. I'll tell you guys this here too, in full disclosure, because I think it's such an interesting setup. The upside target that I have personally for SILJ, if this breakout works, and by the way, this is a cup and handle pattern, right? So what you're looking at here is what you call a cup and handle pattern, okay? So we've got this cup, and then you've got this handle here. And so my upside target is about $16.50 if this trade works out. Now, what I'm sensitive to is that the correlation between gold and silver and other things is very high. It's probably like 0.7 or so. So the question is, if gold really drops, then silver won't go up. But if gold just kind of stops going higher, I think silver and silver miners could work for a trade. Does that make sense? All right, so those are two sort of separate time frames that I'm talking about. So if you're interested in SILJ, I have a long position. I've had a long position for a long time, and I might actually add to some of it today to see if we can sneak up to 1650. Any nasty bearish reversal here, I would respect and just forget about it. But this is one that I like here for now. So anyway, that's a lot of stuff, guys, this morning here. Hopefully a lot of value. If you like it, please come back. If you don't, please don't come back. But either way, in any way, if you enjoyed this, please give us a thumbs up, please subscribe to the channel. That way we can continue to do this. But a lot of things we covered here today: update on stocks, JP Morgan, Apple, SILJ, the dollar, gold. So hopefully you're getting a lot of value here out of this morning call. And for all of you guys that are Inner Circle Market Rover members, we will see you in about 3 minutes in our member session over there. Have a great start to your day. Be well, and also join us over in Trade Ops throughout the day. Thank you. Let me see here. Ashid is asking, when you mentioned the market cap, would that not include the value? Not. Yeah, of course. It's market cap. Ashid is outstanding number of shares multiplied by the current stock price. That has nothing to do with how much money they manage. That is a completely different math. Thank you, folks. I'll see you guys over in Trade Ops.